Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. All right, folks, here we are on Tuesday, March 18th. We're going to take a look at Lucid today. So Lucid coming up almost 9%. Obviously, it was up even a bit higher intraday and peeled back a bit as the day went on. Some profit taking certainly coming in to pull this back from the 250 range that it sort of rejected off of. But as far as I can tell, the news that was moving old Lucid today, analysts from Morgan Stanley upgrades Lucid to equal weight, announces $3 price target. So, analyst upgrades, we've seen them move, the Lucids and the SoFis of the world and stuff like that. And, I sort of tend to think that they are relatively short-lived catalysts. Sometimes they even get sort of peeled off the next day. So we'll see, what this really adds to Lucid in terms of actual bullish momentum. But it is still in an interesting chart position that we've been watching for quite some time. Back here, when we were looking at the potential for this move, that really worked out well, right? It brought it from about 190 up to 360. And I was saying at that point that, if it's going to do anything more than just come up and fill this gap, that it's going to need some sustained, repetitive, positive catalysts, some bullish catalysts just over and over and over again, some being a little bit more on the flimsy side, right? Like an analyst upgrade, which is quite speculative, quite just opinion based. And then it will need a healthy dose of fundamentals that are just really strong bullish fundamental catalysts that can help drive this delivery numbers, order numbers, financials, partnerships, anything like this that can really drive it. And I did see in the news feed here, I don't know if I can catch it right now, but there was some more news coming out that's saying, how is this going to even be profitable? Yeah, here, Lucid sell case confirmed, no profits in sight. So that came out just 8 hours ago, which was actually after the Morgan Stanley analyst came out. So there still is a lot of this sort of back and forth of analysts coming out, putting in targets, but then, other folks, other writers coming out and saying, look, there's no profits in sight here. The bullish case kind of doesn't make a lot of fundamental sense. So a big mixed bag. I would be surprised if this really kicked off any significant and sustained motion for Lucid. The best case scenario here to me is sort of twofold. One, if it could come up and wanted to finish filling this gap, it's like started that today, but it couldn't quite get there. But 260 would fill this gap, so it would stretch it through today's high of 251, and then really best case scenario, this isn't going to just come off of this one silly analyst upgrade, but this 305 would fill this gap up here as well. So to the degree to which it wants to sort of move toward these gaps, maybe this is sort of at least some motion in that direction. Again, I do think there will have to be some sort of additional catalyst triggered to really get it through there, even if that catalyst is something equally as flimsy as like just retail suddenly getting behind Lucid again and piling in. Who knows, maybe a great Reddit thread goes up, a great post on Reddit goes up and puts out a very compelling case, and retail just comes clamoring in. Who knows? But if it can get some motion, I think this is the best case scenario for the time being. Fill that gap to 260, fill that gap to 305. Those would be tremendous percentage gain wins at this point. Does it look like the all-encompassing quote-unquote turnaround for Lucid? No, I think you're going to need additional really meaningful catalysts for that to take place. Now, if it can't get motion toward that 260, the other potentially decent thing that could come of it would be at least getting time to hold over this 231. We talked about this 231 level, that's why it's green, how important that is. If it sort of can regain that level and can kick off some buying pressure at that level, then it has a really good opportunity. And that was just based off of, the consolidation, the brief consolidation here, and then moving up really strongly. And then this brief support that flipped to less brief resistance. And it just has you see this dip right here got caught by that level. I don't know if it goes, no, it doesn't go back any further than that, but it is, near in, it is a pretty decently strong level. It's just shown up time and time again. And so can it build something over there? Can it even just consolidate along this 231 level and then maybe gear up for another move, right? Maybe head into earnings. So that's probably a bit far away still. Yeah, we got a solid couple months or so probably. So, will it consolidate for a period of time and maybe hold out for another good news article or something like that? Maybe. But at least it positions it back above that 235, because my concern would be, that 231, my concern would be if it were to sustain the action under there and it couldn't get strong motion through it. Like you see today, it's already peeling back toward it, right? If it can't sustain that motion to it and through it, like I say, it's just going to be very strong resistance if it gets trapped back under it. And it could be really trapped between this 220 and 231. Best case scenario, if it doesn't get trapped back under 220 again, as we saw really recently, just a few trading days ago, it was pushing down toward that $2 mark, of which we have that 197 on the chart. It was able to draw itself back to that 220, even ahead of this big jump today. But again, I used to talk a lot about what I would call these magnetic levels, these levels that it just had a really hard time separating from in a significant way or in a meaningful way. And, even just intraday, on the day, we see it trying to leave this 231 level and just getting continuously sucked down toward it. So does that continue to persist day to day? I don't know. We'll see. But that's something to look for. So again, long and short of it to me is best case scenario, you get a fill up here to 305. I don't know how long it would take, but you see sort of like consistent motion toward that. Next best case, you at least get a fill here through 260. Next best case, third best case, which is kind of like, not super disappointing, but not really great news, is that it can at least hold this 231 and wait out a next catalyst. Aside from that, you see there's plenty of levels to the downside, all the way down to 171 there. And, it could, if it does get slippery and continue to dip further, with the whole market in a macro sense nosedives and Lucid gets beat up for it, then, maybe it catches some support around one of those levels. But yeah, to me, it's a nice to have this day for sure. Obviously, some folks got out, right? You see the big top wick there, but I don't see it being a real driver for a very long time. On the thinkorswim side of things, nothing really happening here in the TTM squeeze indicator that's of tremendous interest to me. It's also sitting just mid-range on the March ATR levels. If it were to get really spicy, that call trigger is at 282. It's not that far away. I mean, percentage-wise, I know that's quite a bit, but it's possible. I would say, with a +1 ATR up to 476. If it gets dippy, that put trigger is all the way down at 162. So, if it got down to the put trigger, it would already be tremendously dippy. It would be far more dipped than the levels that we have on this chart, down to 171 here. So, maybe just keep an eye on those if things do start to set off. But I don't necessarily see anything indicating that there's going to be that tremendous of an outsized move again. Just from a chart perspective, if the right catalyst comes along, or the wrong catalyst comes along, then sure, maybe we get a big outsized move one direction or the other. But again, just from like a chart positioning perspective, I don't necessarily see it for the time being. So we'll see how long-lived what this does, if anything, and kind of go from there. And we have plenty of levels on both of these charts to cover a lot of ground in the meantime. All right, folks, so I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.